Alright, hello once again, Jeff Scott of Rankin Technical College, and I've been going over a series of video presentations I'm making for the Rankin Technical College AWD Application and Web Development 1111 .NET Framework with Web Databases class. The textbook for the class, as you can see on the screen, is ASP.NET MVC with Entity Framework and CSS by Lee Naylor. Quite a complex book. So I decided to first go through another book, which you're going to get a free PDF copy of, and that is Professional ASP.NET MVC5 by John Galloway and others. Now that book builds upon the MvcMusicStore. Now it's version 3, so it's older, but I'm in the middle of going over part 3 of this. I was wondering why when I got done here and I ran mine, it looked, for lack of better words, pretty doggone ugly. So right now, whoop, it looks like this. Let's see, too many characters in a literal. Not sure what that problem is. Oh, okay, I know why, I think, because I made a change on here. I thought I was making a change for the better, but evidently not. So this must have to be a double quote, as this, and this, and this. Guess it likes it that way better. So let me stop the run, save all, start the run again, and I'll tell you what I think my problem was. Well, I have plenty of problems, but I think what the problem is with what I'm working on here. So it looks like that. It's getting better. All right, it's almost there, to be honest with you, but what's the problem? I'll show you. That is, inside of here, inside of our content, we were supposed to have 2 more folders. So I'm going to add existing items, and I'm going to come out from the actual finished product here. And let's grab the completed one. And what I want are, let's see, under content, I want the images and everything that's in there. So those 3 images. So let's grab that. So I'm going to copy that and cancel here. I'm going to come into here and I'm going to add a new folder called images. And then I'm going to right mouse click, add an existing item to this folder, and that would be, again, articles. I want the assets. And I want from content images, I want those 3 images, so I'm going to add that. And then there was also a themes folder. And I'm going to right mouse click on that, add existing item. Now I don't want that, but I want to go to themes. Oh, there's a basin there. Oh boy, oh boy. Oh, all right. Well, let's go back and do that. So under themes, we need a folder called base. And I believe, although it really and truly shouldn't matter whether I use uppercase, lowercase, or whatever here, I think that they used it lowercase. Themes, and that was in lowercase also, so I'll fix that in a minute. Base, let's grab all of these, add those. All right, this themes should have a lowercase t. I'm just trying to be consistent with what's in the book. And the images then can have a lowercase I. close the images, but in my themes, under what else was there? There was also a folder here that was called Images. So that's not the Images folder, that's the base Images folder. And I'm going to right mouse click there and choose Add Existing Item. There. Alright, so now let's go save all. Let's run it again and see if it's looking more the way it should look, which is what's shown on page 10, alright, in the handout. So I'm going to take a look. I should at least have, I was going to say, I should have my what you call it in there, my image. Music Store with the underline. This is the home page. The rest of this stuff is no longer needed in there. All right, and that's the stuff that was in there, I believe, from my layout page. All right, so I'll double check that. So let's stop the run here. Let's go back to our layout page. Nope, that's all that's in there now. How about my home index page? That's got all this stuff, which I believe now I need none of this. The Jumbotron, etc. Remember, this is an older. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. Control X, Control S, and then let's run this again. I want it, again, when it comes up, I want it to look like what is shown here on page 10 of the handout. So it should look like this. All right, and let's look. That's pretty doggone good. All right, good. So the author says here, let's review what we changed. The home controller's index it action method found and displayed that view template. Even though our code called return view, because the view template did that convention over configuration. The home page displayed the simple message, and it's using the layout CS HTML template. Good. All right. Now, this is a very important section here next on page 11, where the author says here, a view template that just displays hard-coded HTML doesn't really provide for any interactivity. We want a dynamic website, so as it said, instead we'll pass the information from our controller actions to the view templates. In the model view controller pattern, model refers to objects that represent data. Often model objects respond to tables in the database. They don't have to, but they typically do. Controller action methods, which return an action result, pass a model object to a view, which allows the controller to cleanly package all of the information needed to generate a response and then pass said information off to a view template. It says this is easiest to understand by seeing it in action, so let's get started. All right. So what we're told we should be doing here next is we'll create some model classes to represent genres and albums within our store. Let's start by creating a genre class. So let's right mouse click on models, choose add class, and we'll name it genre.cs. All right, again, we can close this. We can close anything that we're not currently using. That's not too bad. So under models, right mouse click, add class, and the first one I believe that we were told to add was genre.cs. Let's double check and make sure that that indeed is the case. There it is. Okay. Boom. So there it is, right there. We come back in here and we are told that next we should add a public string name property. This. Now, let's do this two ways. Okay? First is we can just go in and copy it, but you won't always have that stuff available for you to copy. There is a little bit of a shortcut in here. You can type in the word prop and hit tab twice and notice what you get. Okay? So this was supposed to be a string, and I think it's called name. Am I right? All right. Next, we're going to create an album class that's going to have this in it. So I'm going to right mouse click on models again. There's my genre. Add class. Again, this one is called album. And I'm going to come down to here. This time I'm just going to paste. All right, my title and my genre. Now we can modify the store controller to use views which display dynamic information from our model. Right now, as it says, these are only for demonstration purposes because we haven't really added squat into this. So we've named our albums based on the request ID. Okay, so the author is saying that we should be able to run this and say store details 5, and hopefully it'll say album 5. All right, and I don't think that that'll happen until we make some more changes, but let's double check. So we'll go to store details 5. Save. We'll come in here and we'll go to store, to details 5. All right, and it doesn't show us much of anything right now. Okay, so that's fine. But as the author says, we'll start by changing the store details action so that it shows the information for a single album. Add a using statement at the top to include the MvcMusicStore models namespace. So in other words, this line right here. Okay, so let's go into the details section. We'll start by changing the store details action. All right, add this to the top of the store controllers class. Now, again, I'm just going to bring this stuff up to you as it comes to me, okay? For the store controllers, the author is totally right in saying put this in there, okay? I have no problem with that. Some people get two things on this. Some people get really anal with this stuff, and what I mean is they want things to be in alphabetic order. Other people are like, you know what? We should have it like this because after that blank space, that shows things that have been added by the programmer. They may even put a comment in there saying that. None of them are, there's no right or wrong answer when it comes to this stuff. All right, I'll just leave it like that. How's that? So, next we'll update the details controller action method so that it returns an action result rather than a string. So we've got to find details. Let's do this incrementally as they've done it in here. So let's find the details. There it is. So now, rather than it changing, or than it returning a string, it's returning an action result. That's why we get this error here, because that's not an action result. So that's fine. We'll change the guts, so to speak, so it looks like this. All right. Now notice the difference. Remember before when I ran it and it looked, it really didn't look like much of anything, but now I'm going to come back in here again and I'm going to do a store details 5 and let's see how it changes. All right, so store details 5, just like we did it before. But notice, whoopsie, don't know what happened there. And it's telling us there's an error. The view details or its master was not found. Well, it was under store, wasn't it? Now, I'm going to tell you this, and you may laugh, but it's the honest to goodness truth. I love it when stuff like this happens, because it's forcing me to go back and say, okay, what the heck did I do wrong? All right, so we're going to look. Here's details. It's our store controller. And I can tell you I already know what the problem is. So we've come in here, we've updated the details controller so it returns an action result. All right. Now let's return a view template that uses the album to generate an HTML response. Before we do this, we need to build the project so that the add view knows about our newly created album class. So we just did that. We go to details here. We right mouse click on this and we choose add view. Some of the verbiage, like I said in here, isn't really correct. So we want this to be empty, but we do want the model in there to be album. think that's okay for that class. It's not a partial view. We can reference that. We can reference that. That should be all right. And that should create a brand new one for us here. Okay. There was an error running the selected code generator, unable to retrieve metadata. Well, my guess is one of these is wrong. Let's try to leave this empty. See if that may or may not fix it. Did. Okay. And as it shows in the book on page 16, or in the handout, whatever you want to call it, we now have this. It says, notice the first line indicates this is a strongly typed view. Well, it doesn't. But I wonder if we can force it to be. Well, it already is like that without us having to do anything. All right. Details. Update the H2 tag so that it says here album, and then put in some razor code, model dot title. And you may or may not have noticed the IntelliSense was triggered there. So let's go back in and let's rerun the project. And now again, let's put in album and then album details. Now again, we don't have any details in there right now. That's why we're getting that error. /5. And there we go. It's exactly the same thing that we see on our handout on page 17 of the handout. This looks just like that. All right. Now we'll make a similar update, but before we do, let's stop the run here. Let's go back to here and stop the run here. But the author says, let's make a similar update for our store browse. Update the method. So let's go back to browse, and that'll be in our controller. All right, so we want to change that so that it also returns an action result rather than a string. And we're going to change these two lines so that this says var genre model equals new genre name equals genre return view genre model. All right. So this will return an action result, and we'll create a new genre object and return it to the view. We will again have to right mouse click on here, choose add view. This will be browse. This will again be empty, and the model class will again be album. This we leave empty. All right, click add. There it is. Oh, that should have been genre. Darn it, not model. Not album, rather. So let's remove this one. Let's remove that browse.cshtml and recreate it. Again, this will be empty, but rather for the model class, that should be genre. That was on me. Okay? Add. And again here, browsing, genre, put in some razor, model dot, and again, notice once we put in this at model dot, how the IntelliSense kicks in. Name. Now, let's save. Let's rerun the project. And we're here under Browse, but we want to change this once it comes up to question mark genre equals disco. Again, we could put in anything here. Question mark genre equals disco, and watch how this changes when we hit enter. You can see that. All right. Finally, we're almost done here. Let's make a slightly more complex update to the store index method. So stop the run here. I'm jumping down to here. We want this. So let's stop the run here. Let's go to our store controller. Let's go to the index method. Okay. And get rid of this return line. Put in this. Now, again, we're going to need an action result here. All right. But now notice what we have. We've got a list of possible genres. Okay. So we're going to right mouse click on here. Now, do we already have for the store? We don't have an index. See that? We've got a browse and the details. Right mouse click, add view. Index empty. The model class, they've told us to again choose genre. All right. Not sure what, well, that should be okay though. Add. Okay, now we have this. If you are following along, congratulations. But I'm on page 20 of this third one here. All right. First, we'll change the at model declaration. So we're going to change this from the way it is to IE numerable, and then we're going to have what was here inside of curly brackets there. IE numerable. Okay. This tells the Razor view engine that we'll be working with a model that can hold several genre objects. Well, that's what we just added. We're using an IE numeral genre rather than a list because it's more generic. It allows us to change our model type later if we so desire. Now, we're going to come back in here, and this is going to change from index to store. All right, and here, what they want is rather than an H2, they want an H3, and they want this to say browse genres. And so I don't screw up the code. Let's go look where that is in here. And I'm going to just add it from here. All right, so select from so we had IntelliSense support rather as we're going in there and doing this stuff. We're doing a for each loop, so what you're going to notice now is when we browse over to the store, it's going to say select from 3 genres, or at least it should say that. because we have 3 in there. Those being these 3 here. All right, so let's run this again. Once this comes up, we're on the home page. So /store, and notice from 3 genres. You should notice this. What I'm about to tell you should make total sense. That is, if I added another one here, stop the run. So if I added another one here, and for example, I put in country, and we run this again, what should change is instead of saying select from 3 genres, disco, jazz, rock, it should now say select from 4 genres, disco, jazz, rock, and country. And we have to maneuver our way over to the store page. And there it is. All right, so the last thing, sorry this is already at 30 minutes, but I don't really want to create another one of these that takes about 5 minutes. Don't really see the need to do that. So let's finish this one up. I apologize for this being as long as it is. So stop the run here. Stop that there. All right. Like I said, we're almost finished here. All right. Our store that lists genres currently lists the genre name simply as plain text. Let's change it so that instead of text, we're making them hyperlinks. Now notice what it says here. Don't type this in, we're going to improve it. They are basically doing some hard coding in here. And the author says that what they're doing works, but it could later lead to trouble because it does rely on a hard-coded string. So rather than put it in like this, the author says let's take advantage of what's called an HTML helper method. All right. So what we want to do is change it in our for each loop to this. So what's that going to do? Well, it's using action link, which says with each genre, what we want to do with a genre name is we want to make it a hyperlink. So it'll, basically it'll allow us to browse to that hyperlink. So it should look like this, should, when we're done. And it's red without the underline because of what we put into the site.css file. Okay? So let's see if indeed that works. We want to come over to our... Was it the one there? That was it here, right? For each. And instead of genre name, I'm going to put in that. Again, we can put that all on one line if we want. That's no big thing. But let's save that. Right mouse click. Let's view this page in the browser. And there we've got them. Now I'm going to get rid of the other, I'm going to get rid of the country because it wasn't shown in there. But disco, disco, jazz, jazz, rock, rock, country, country. Fantastic. All right, that'll end part 3 of what we're going through. When we come back, we'll go through part 4, which is models and data access. I'll be back with that shortly.